on geezer chat. How
No
are
bother.
you?
It's all good. Yeah, fine. Yeah.
I miss your face so much.
Oh, you know what they say, if you miss my face, reload and fire again. And that was about 40 years old. I've been watching loads of Billy Connolly on YouTube.
Oh.
Do you know he's got that new show on?
Yes.
And I'm seeing stuff that I'd never seen before. I don't know whether it's stuff that he had archived. I thought I'd seen it all. And like everyone talks about his appearances on Parkinson. And I thought I'd seen them all, but he's wearing this suit, this amazing suit, and I'd never seen it before. I thought, I've not seen that Parkinson.
Uh-huh.
And there's other brilliant archive footage of Glasgow, and it just, as it always does, whenever I see a bit of Billy, I need to watch more. So I've been down a bit of a black hole watching that and Eddie Izzard, actually. It's been keeping me sane.
I just think that Billy's such a philosopher as well, that you could listen to him.
Yeah.
You would just want to be sit. There's people that you love to entertain you, right? But people you wouldn't invite to your living room, you know, you'd like, that's enough. But Billy, you'd be like, come in, sit down, do you want to stay over and chat? Do you know what I mean?
Met him?
Like, eh?
Have you ever met him?
No, but I heard that somebody might have met him.
I didn't really meet him. I talked at him for a minute. You know the story, don't you?
Yeah, you told me, you were like, I was like, Sanj, I can't believe that, because you're normally very cool and calm and collected.
I lost my shizzle big style. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and he was given a Scottish BAFTA for his contribution specifically to films.
Yeah. And
he couldn't make it on the night of the BAFTA, so they put a special night on for him. And they had it in it was the CCA. CCA. It was in CCA. And it was one of those ones where I never go to BAFTA stuff. But I applied for this, and it was like a total ballot. Everyone wanted to be in the room with Billy Connolly, and me and Fiona, my missus, actually got tickets. It was amazing. And so we did a Q&A, I think, was it with Janice Forsyth? I can't remember. Then Kevin Bridges at the end came and gave him this award. And he got really emotional.
Did he?
He did, actually. And actually, it was quite emotional for me as well, because I don't know if he had gone public or if he'd been diagnosed with the Parkinson's at that point. But I remember Fiona's dad had Parkinson's before he died. And Fiona said, it looks like
she knew.
Yeah. And he did seem just a bit altered, but, you know, you just think, old age and all that. He's still sharp as a tack, but physically, because that's the thing, when you watch Billy's stuff back, he's so physical in really subtle ways sometimes. He's a brilliant physical comedian.
Yeah.
And just to even see him not doing some of his, almost like his visual catchphrases, it's quite jarring. So anyway, so he did the thing, did the Q&A, received it, and then there was an after party in Arta, just around the corner in Glasgow.
Which you wouldn't have gone to, because you're not big on an after party. So.
You know me, I'm generally before the end of an event. I have my cleansing warm water with lemon, and I'm in bed, usually by 10 o'clock. I'm a total whore. I'm such a ligger. Totally. And honestly, there hasn't been a vol-au-vent that hasn't been stroked by me. And any amount of warm white wine. I just like meeting people there.
I know you do.
One of the people. And lockdown's a killer for me. So I said to Fiona, look, obviously Billy Connolly's not going to go to the after party, why would he? But there'll be loads of pals there, because I knew half the room, you know how small the media world is, and there's people that say, I'll see you later, Paul English, our pal Paul, I'll see you, Paul, I'll see you, Janice, da-da-da. So I thought, we'll go and, you know, like we'll tan the vol-au-vent, speak some pals, and make a night of it. That's the other thing, get Wayne's, so you got to make the most of your nights.
I know.
And when you've got get your money's worth. So, and then come home and watch The Hitman and Her. There's a reference for anyone over the age of 40. So,
I hate it. See, this is what happens when we have chats, isn't it? We'll get so far into it, and I'm totally with you, and then you go, blah, 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 blah,
see, this is the problem.
And you watch the glaze, and it's like me. It's the panic of me going, am I really uncultured, or am I just younger than
just
Sanjeev?
too young.
I'm just younger. It's all right.
This is what hilarious is about us being a fictional couple. Is like it'll be that moment. You don't remember Grange Hill. Well, you remember Grange Hill, but you sing a different theme tune.
They put it in the script though sometimes, don't they? Because it's funny, because I'll read it and I'll go, Sanj, what is? And you go, yeah, exactly. That's why it's in the script, because Ellie doesn't know.
Exactly. And then you'll bring up Stormzy or something. I'm like, what?
No, you're cooler than me with music. You're much cooler.
I wouldn't say cooler. I'd just say different.
Oh no, I'd say well more cool.
So you piano. Which I can't.
Look at your lovely room. This is what's nice as well, is getting a little peek into people's houses. Like I was showing you the nice exterior of the wee cottage I'm in just now, and it's like it's nice, innit? You get to see where people are, because we're in work all the time, and we're...
Yeah. Do you know what I think? Probably, because who was it before? The guy that does lottery adverts, Hamza Yusuf. So I think Hamza Yusuf keeps getting mistaken for me. We look nothing like each other, so it's hilarious.
That's what I was going to say. I think you told me that before, and you were like, why is that?
Yeah. But I have also been mistaken for Jeff Goldblum, which I quite like.
By the way, I said that to you before. Yeah. And that's how I persuade you sometimes to keep the beard off for AJ. Yeah. I'm like, but you look really like Jeff Goldblum.
Will it make me play piano like Jeff Goldblum? Probably not.
When really I'm just worried about my own face.
I know. It's fine though, because generally your main worry with me and my face is just my massive sundial nose poking you in the eye.
Yeah.
I'm always getting your mascara on the...
That's the thing. See, these are the secrets. This is why we're doing these interviews, because these are the secrets that we need to tell people, because some people, Sanjeev, you might not believe it, but some people will get a little bit jealous that I get to winch you occasionally.
No, maybe once upon a time, not now.
They do? They do. No, they really do. They do. Then they say, is he a good winch? And I go... When you become a couple, then you start, you know how each other work, because actors have got different ways of doing things, and some people will rehearse the kiss. Some people are weird about rehearsing the kiss, but I always treat it like any other piece of action. You just do it. Yeah. But I remember the first time I had to do it, and you were like, dressing him. Yeah. And I opened the door, and you were like, right. And I was like, I thought you were going to be dead cool, and you went, right. And I was like, you were going to do this scene. And I was like, yeah. And you went, so I'm just checking the etiquette. I also think it's the absolute it's the fear of the familiarity. It's such a weird thing when you've known, because we've known each other for a long time, and all of a sudden you're like...
But it was. I just remember because we were very close by that point and very comfortable with each other. I don't remember it being a problem. It was just it was more of a laugh, I think.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's like you said, it's funny because it's so unromantic and it's so technical, and like we joke, you know, like because of it, it's not because you're always going to get a big nose, it's because you're so tall and I'm so small, and it's like you've got to manoeuvre, and it's like just all a bit weird.
It's hilarious though, and it's thankfully, I just think, and I've said this to everyone that asks me, that on the on-set atmosphere on our work is always really... 99% of the time is always really easy, and I'd hate to do it on a set where either you were a newbie or it was just uncomfortable, because that makes a massive difference. When you know the crew and their pals and the directors will laugh, it just makes it all so much easier. And this is all stuff I didn't appreciate because I'm not a trained actor and I kind of came to it late. Yeah.
Who's there?
That's Ruby.
Oh, Ruby!
You can say quick hello. This is my daughter, Ruby.
Darling. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, not at all.
How are you?
I'm really good. This is Sanjeev's beautiful daughter. You're getting kept in this. Are we allowed to keep you in there? Ruby. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm fine, honestly. I think the weather's perking my mood up from just being stuck inside.
Yeah. What's it like being home? Oh, look at them. What's it like being home, everyone together?
It's nice, I think, because obviously I was back from uni and I think I'd had a lot of plans for summer. I didn't think I was going to be home for that long, and I think being forced to be home has actually been quite nice, as much as...
Yeah.
It's been really good for a liver, because she was away at Dundee Uni, just honestly getting leathered every other night.
Well, do you know what? It's actually a nice moment just while Ruby's here, because I was going to ask you about this later on, but I'm like, the whole point of this is to interview people and to see a side of them that people might not know. And I remember when Ruby was going to university, and it was months previous, it wasn't like she was just about to go, and I remember being on set and when we sit between scenes, and I remember you being a little bit quiet, and I was like, are you all right? And honestly, Ruby, he was so emotional, like he couldn't talk about it a lot, and I was like, what is wrong? And I thought, what's he going to tell me? Like, it's something really bad. And he's like, Ruby's going to university. I almost laughed out of pure relief, and because I was so worried, and I was like, Sanj, you'll be fine. And he's like, I know. But it was just so lovely, because he's just said he would miss you so much because you're so close.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
That night, yeah, it was really sweet.
That was my wee secret, was it?
Sanjeev, is that what I was to say to Ruby?
That was exactly what you were to say, yeah.
Sorry.
Bye. He's so beautiful. What a beautiful girl. So we actually did a bit of a Billy Connolly ourselves because you were telling me, but we're, you know, we meant it like him.
Exactly. Yes.
So you were going to tell me about.
I'm a tangent. Went off on a tangent.
Yeah, but we were always coming back. It was fun.
What was I saying? That's right. Aye. So I so went to this after party and people were just arriving, and then Billy Connolly walks in, and it wasn't even with an entourage. It was one lassie in a clipboard.
Oh, I can't cope.
I know, and I'm like, he's genuinely a living hero of mine. I mean, I've not got many, and he's definitely one of them. And I'd never been in the same room as him before. Well, no, except to watch him. I'd never, socially been in the same room as him. I utterly shat it. And our pal Rosalind, who's fear of nothing, she just went up. And then Fiona followed, and I sort of followed in.
Did she? Fiona's your wife. So did she go? Was she like, I'm going where? She went. She
was slightly more chicken than Rosalind, and I was the most chicken of the three of them. And then we went.
and you can't skulk at the back, Sanj.
That's what I do. I'm like,
what are you doing?
And so Rosalind chatted to him for a bit, and then Fiona had said, he had. That's right. He had. We're talking about vol au vents. He had like this wee paper plate with some prawn thing on it, and I remember Fiona inviting him to our house for a curry, and then he had a drink and his plate, and he was like, I don't have any. My hands are all greasy. And Fiona said, "Oh, you can wipe your hands on my jacket," and he did. Totally wiped his hands on his jacket, and I'm like, and then she went, and then I talked at him for probably about 60 seconds about his glasses because but there's a really cool opticians in Candlerigs in Glasgow called Niche Optical, and I got a pair of glasses and from there, and they're wonderful people and they're great people, really stylish, and they were saying, "Oh, Billy was in last week and he bought these glasses and they were made out of record vinyl." And and they're really cool glasses, and I did try them on because Billy had tried them on, and
I thought you meant from him.
Oh no, Christ no! Can you imagine?
I'd love that.
That's the two ways you can go, and I have done with people, is you either undercompensate and you're overcool, or you really, really just bleh. And I stopped short of taking his glasses off his face, but I did go, I know where you get glasses from, because I've been there. It's called Niche Opticals in Canada in Glasgow. I know, because I saw Brenda. You know Brenda, don't you? And it's almost like I just like...
You turned into me? You turned into me for a minute?
I did actually. Oh my actual God. I might have even said that. And I got... And the whole time he just kind of... He was just this. Mm-hmm. Like it's happened a million times before.
Yeah.
I think he does evoke that kind of level of hero-ish with people that he just doesn't know what to do with it. So he just kind of...
It's weird though, because you are part of an iconic Scottish show, right? And you play an iconic character. Naveed's so loved, and you go, isn't it weird to think that although you would never believe that there will be many, many people who will be in a room, you'll be in the room, they'll be at the theatre, they'll see you, they literally will feel that completely starstruck and probably have done the same to you.
Oh no, I've seen it, and the beauty is that, because I always say this, because in the kind of level of celebrity I'm sort of lower to mid, there's more people famous than me than less famous than me. So I've done both. I've been fangirl and I've been fangirled at, and I'll never want to forget what it's like for someone. Like, you know exactly what this is like. If you're out and there's a gaggle of people, you know they're dying to get a selfie taken with you, and they don't know how to elucidate it. And I always try to say, look, come get a picture, because
I know.
And you know as well that it means it's a start for 10, because if you take one selfie, oh, he's doing selfies, oh, she's doing selfies. And it is a bit of a high risk.
Yeah.
But honestly, because I remember exactly what it's like, I always try to remember that.
Yeah, do you have that in mind when people approach you? You know, is totally. That something that... Yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely. I remember just thinking, right, how would I be if Billy Connolly or Eddie Izzard or Chris Morris or Rick Mail or Stephen Fry was in the room? You know, I would be exactly the same. So, you know, have some sympathy,
Yeah.
and also take it for the compliment that it is. That's the other thing. I can't remember where I was, but I was at a wee snack van, like like burgers and square sausage van, and I was getting a bacon roll and a coffee, and the woman put it in, rolled it up, and gave it to me and said, "Thanks for all the laughs. That's on the house." And it's like that really touched me because that was heartfelt, and I'm thinking,
so touching. And
then I'm thinking of the people that I would love to say that to, and the high regard that I hold them in. And then other things as well is that, people will say, I watched the box set Still Game and it got me over my dad's death and stuff.
I know, yeah.
We do know the power of laughter. I think especially now, we appreciate the power of laughter,
Yeah, because we've been talking about, a lot of us, obviously at the moment, it's really concerning for our industry, particularly our live entertainment industry, firstly, and then, of course, our film and television industry as well. And kind of the point I've been making to people at the moment is that there's a lot of people asking for money for charity and things like that, and there's a lot of people out of work. But I was kind of saying, there are people who are currently earning money. It might not be as much as they normally do, but just to take a minute to consider where genuinely one of your first ports of call's been, like it's been the television, the radio, a book, some poetry, music. It's the arts are one of the first places you go for, and they're crucial for mental health, for escapism.
And I think a lot of people, when they even hear the word the arts, they think that's not for me. And they don't realise, no, well, think about all the stuff you've watched now. All the people that came to see your one-woman show, right? All of them, the gaggle of adoring fans that would say, I don't like the theatre. You're sitting in one. They just don't make that connection, do they? You might not go. You might not go to
my advert for my next show.
Aye, you're sitting in one. And it might, Ibsen might not be your cup of tea. It's not bloody my cup of tea. I don't go out my way to watch Chekhov, but I'll go to the theatre to watch the right thing.
But in mainstream contemporary commercial theatre, you're opening the doors up to a theatre and people are coming and enjoying something, and they might go and see some Ibsen, they might go and see the ballet, they might go and see Chekhov, the opera, Mama, all these things that they would never have gone to see. So I think it's
I think your show and Still Game Live was very similar in that way. I got the impression with your show and with Still Game Live that might be the only theatre event they went to that year. But it will open doors. It'll that experience. It might not have occurred to them that
it's that thing. Like I chatted to Karen about the opera, and I said, when I was young, I lived in Govan Hill, and I used to walk to Langside to go and do my acting training, and I was doing Greek mythology and all these things that people would never think you do, in the history of theatre and all these things. I was worried that I would feel like I didn't belong in there, right? And if I'm honest, I was very young, and see, when I was in the foyer, I did feel as if I didn't belong. I was really, really intimidated, and I felt like I had a big sign on my head, saying that I'd just come. I was 18 years old from Govan Hill, and I didn't feel as if that's where I should be. But see, when I sat in my seat and the thing started, I was like, that's exactly where I should be. Like, this is, I love this, and I understand it all. And it's interesting, isn't it, and that's the way I think people feel about even just going into a theatre. It's like they go, I don't know if I don't feel as I don't really know the etiquette and all that, and
well, that was the whole reason why the Citizens Theatre is where it is. It's in the heart of the globe. It was meant to be. Look, theatre is for the people. It's of the people. And if you're not resonating with people's lives, then why are you telling stories? That's the whole point of art, is to resonate with people and to show them, the condition of life. And
totally.
You don't want to resonate with three people. You want to resonate with, So to call people a sellout because they're commercial or the populist, well, that's a lot of shite. Because it's doing that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to resonate with people.
Yeah, and I think don't underestimate people's intelligence.
Yeah, but I think that's the issue. I think with a lot of mainstream stuff does underestimate people, and that's why it's got a bad name. But I always think of something like Father Ted, right? Now, Father Ted was a very, very popular situation comedy that everyone seemed to like it. 4-year-olds and 9-year-olds, men, women, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't seem to be a class thing either. Really, really clever and really, really popular. And there's no reason why things can't be those two things simultaneously, because it never underestimated its audience. I mean, maybe it was surprised by the size of the audience it got in the end, but it never underestimated its audience. And I think that's why maybe mainstream stuff gets a bad name, but then you can't tar it over the same brush. There's some, Fleabag is a beautiful bit of art that, that never ever tried to second guess people or never ever tried to patronize people. And it's huge.
It's like the beauty of pantomime almost as well. I mean, pantomime's looked down on quite a lot, and you go, pantomime's genius because it's so layered, and that's what happens with these mainstream kind of comedies. You will get what you'll get, so you will understand what you'll understand, and you could see 10 layers and somebody else might see 2, and that's the beauty of it, and you don't have any less enjoyment. It's just what you're able to see in that, and that's the beauty of really genius writing, which we should chat about.
Well, it's harder to write layers,
First of all, what I want to say is, people wouldn't know this. A lot of people think you started off as a presenter and then that's how you came into comedy and writing and everything. But actually, you were going to train medically, weren't you? And then you actually did a mathematics degree. Like, you've got like a first degree in mathematics.
Yes.
I mean, what the actual F?
Well, the thing is that how old were you when you knew roughly what you wanted to do or be?
I think I was probably about 12.
Okay, so at that point then, when you were doing picking school subjects or whatever, or just your interests, you were kind of going in that direction.
Yeah, I knew I had to be. My mum and dad, rightly so, were very strict on. They wanted me to do as much because I was clever. I was really clever, but I just was like, I want to sing, I want to do this. So you
could have been more traditionally academically trained.
Not things like mathematics, and like I was really good at like literature, like English and languages, really good at languages and things like that. So I could have, academically, but still in a kind of slightly art kind of social way. But not science. Wasn't never really big on that. But but I did pick, I suppose, kind of as much as I could, music and English and German, because languages are obviously important to the arts and things. So,
and also you'd moved around as well, so you're pretty good at picking up languages and dialects.
What? So did you not? When you were younger, did you not know?
I was, and I'm assuming that you were quite the extrovert from quite early doors as well.
No. Well, I was a bit. I love how this is turning into an interview. You're so clever. You're so clever. I was quite I was kind of, well, as you know, I'm a worrier. I worry a lot. And so when I was younger, I don't think I really understood how to kind of combat that worrying. So it did make me quite nervous. And I used to worry a lot about what people thought of me. And, if somebody laughed, if you said something wrong and they'd laugh at you or whatever. And I hated it. So for a period of time, and particularly secondary school, I used to find it a bit difficult, and because when I was in school we didn't have the reality stuff yet, so it still wasn't that cool. It was like you were bordering on, people used to like to come and see you singing, but like if you were doing a play, like you were a dick, it was like, and I used to try and fit in with them, like you're saying, the academics, like the people that were really, really bright, and also the people who didn't work as hard, who were just kind of a bit naughtier for whatever reason that was going on with them. And I tried to and I was a bit middle of the road, and I never really knew where I sat. So I was actually quieter than you would think.
Well, I was incredibly clinically shy.
Were you?
I was a big worrier.
But you are quite shy, Sanj. A lot of people don't know that about you.
Yeah, no, I am shy, which is weird that my first my breakout into the media was a radio presenter, almost like a rent-a-gob. But I was, as a child, very, very shy. And
really?
Until the age of, I'd say, 18, till I started at uni.
You were born down south, weren't you? And then you moved up. Like your parents emigrated from India. They came from India, didn't they?
Yeah, actually, my mum grew up in Nairobi in Kenya, in the massive Sikh community there. My dad grew up in India, so they got married, an arranged marriage. Lunch was at 2, dancing was at 5.
Was it an arranged marriage? I wasn't sure.
They didn't meet till the day they got married.
Oh my God, I did not know that!
And here's the thing, is that my dad is kind of built like me. He's about 6'1", and my mum's a wee mighty mouse. She's like 5'4".
No, she's so
cute. And I can't help thinking that my dad saw a picture of my mum, but they didn't put like a Twix or something in the picture for scale. So he might have thought she was smaller than she was. So she rocked up and she was like that. My dad was like this. A bit like you and me on screen.
I know, I was going to say, did they not have a special box for her?
No, they couldn't. There's no 2 shots of my mum and dad at the wedding. Not one single 2 shot.
And we know why.
So they got married in India, and then they came over to London. In fact, I only found this out recently. My dad had every intention of going to the States, and they went to London. They went to London and stayed for a week, and he thought, quite like it here. So we're in London. I was born there in 1970. It's my 50th this year. I know. And then my dad got a place in teacher training college in Dundee in 73. And then when he got his first job in Glasgow, he moved us up. So I was about 3 or 4 when we came up. So, which is why I've got this weird Anglified. I'm middle class anyway, and I went to private school, but I've also quite Anglified as well. So words,
really rounded vowels. You do.
Yeah. Which I hated as a kid because.
Did you?
Oh God! Already. This is probably why I got into comedy. So, I come up to Glasgow when I'm 3, and we're the only. I know I bang on about my Asianness with you for a laugh, right? But
can I ask you before you tell me this, because I did want to ask you, and I know what you're going to talk about, and we joke, and that's what I wanted to say to you. Like, we joke, me and you, all the time. Like, we joke about things that we feel potentially might be something that's affected us in the past, or somebody's judged us, or that we're boxed in by. So I'll joke to you often about my weight, and you'll joke to me about your race, and both of us get so annoyed at the other. Stop that, you're beautiful. And it's like really interesting because we get annoyed when the other does it.
I think we both know it's self-defense, don't we?
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to jump in first and say it before anyone even thinks it.
Oh yeah,
it's
about owning it, isn't it? I'm going to own it. And because I suppose we're at an age now where we're confident enough and vocal enough and lucid enough to own it ourselves. When you're 12, you can't do that. You just have
control. You want to control it, don't you? So yeah, because when you were younger, what would that have been? Would that have been the early 70s? No,
so,
I'm trying to. I don't.
73, 74.
Right.
We moved up, and then we moved to Bishopbriggs, north of Glasgow.
And was there a big Asian community then when you?
Oh no!
Yeah, because
we were the only Asian family on the street until the neighbours, their house got bought over by another Sikh family, and then.
Can you remember being aware of that though? How quickly were you aware? Was it almost instant?
I think it always felt like my reality, because it wasn't like when I was 2 or 3, we lived in West London, which was a big, massive Sikh community, but I didn't remember that. So all of my memories are of living in quite a white neighbourhood and feeling like we stuck out a bit and feeling almost apologetic for being a bit different. And not wanting my mum to cook Indian food in case the smell got out of the kitchen, and
really?
To wear shalwar kameez because it would make at that age you don't want to be a target, and already I've got an English accent.
I know,
and we're the only Asian. And my dad wears a turban, and then to top it all, mum and dad sent me to a fee-paying Catholic school. So I'm in my wee green uniform and my shorts, getting the bus back home. With my wee English accent and a cap. So I hate my accent. I hate that Anglified accent. So I'm like, a single ticket to Bishopbriggs, please. Driver. They're really, really overdoing it. Really, really embarrassed of everything about me. And I guess being that outsider, it must be why, I've got into comedy, because I think comedy is about looking at what people take for granted. But when you're an outsider and you're just 1 or 2 degrees to the left, which is what Billy Connolly was always really good at doing. He always said this: your perspective is slightly off. You can see things for how ridiculous they are. I mean, you've got the outside. Like for example, I didn't know what an orange walk was. I had no clue.
Yeah, so, we're the same, because remember, I was right up till I was 8 or 9 in England as well. And it's interesting, isn't it, that I didn't know these things either. I didn't know what a Catholic was.
Why would you? This is a true story. I sat the entrance exam for St. Aloysius and I got in. My cousin, who's every bit as clever as me, didn't get in. And he admitted that one of the one of the questions in the entrance exam was, what do you call someone who doesn't believe in God? And he put a Catholic. And he thought that was the right answer. And obviously, you're not going to get into Catholic school. If you get everything else right, you're not going to get in.
It wasn't that we were like a big church-going family in any way. I don't have a religious faith that I follow, and I never have done. It wasn't like I was going, I don't know what one of them is. Like, I just had never heard the term Protestant and Catholic in my life. And my dad was a soldier, and I was born in Belfast in 1983, right? So, but I just didn't. I just didn't know these very Glaswegian affiliations, you know, these very, I didn't know, and I mean that's by the by. It was things like you said, like things like not knowing like what. Remember the first phrase that I heard in the playground was, "I'll give you a bite of my Mars bar for an up and down of your Coke."
Goofed.
And I was like that. What? And I can only imagine, because I feel even now to this day, I think back and I wonder if you feel the same. You're a bit more gathered than me and a little bit more. You can kind of let things go. But I sometimes look back and think, I feel quite sorry for that wee girl sometimes that felt quite excluded and a bit frightened and a bit daunted and didn't really know. And I didn't have the added thing of feeling like I looked well. You did look different in your street. Like you said, there was like one Asian family. So you did look different to other people, even though it's not right. And we know we sounded different and things. So I just wonder, it must have been even more difficult. And also it was even further back, because obviously you're in
Well, no, I mean, and things did change. Like I always say that if I went into town in the 80s, say, or late 70s, early 80s, that was when I was old enough to go into town when I was like 13, 14, so talk about 83, 84, I'd be surprised if I wasn't called the name.
Really?
Yeah. And then by the 90s, I'd be surprised if I was called the name.
Right.
It wasn't that racism suddenly evaporated, it just became a lot more subtle. They seemed to, I always remember being in town and a guy, older guy, I mean, he should have known better. Everyone should know better, but anyway, he said, "Oh, look at this little black Sambo," right? And I just remember wanting to say to him, if you're going to be racist, get it right. Get the geography right? My dad's from India. I'm from Bishop Briggs. But I'd rather you call me a Paki than a Sambo. Do you know what I mean? Now, there's the title of my next Edinburgh show.
It's like, get the insult correct.
Yeah. But the flip side of that is, I don't know if I told you the story. It must have been around about 1980, because I was about that age, 9 or 10 years old. We'd been in town on a Saturday. And it was getting to 5 o'clock, and I remember thinking, "Oh, I want to be home. I don't want to be in Glasgow city centre on a Saturday night in 1980, because it used to be. It was horrible then." Mm-hmm. And it's just where the Royal Concert Hall is now. That was like a really dodgy bit of town. The Apollo used to be. You probably don't remember.
Yeah, I know where you mean. No,
down
from the pavilion.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, why are we here? My mum's wearing a sari. My dad's got a turban. 3 kids. Someone's going to say something.
I just hate that.
I really, really want to get home. And then these Hells Angels started walking up towards us, right? And they all looked like Lemmy from Motorhead. They're really, really scary. Oh, God, they're going to say something. And that's the other thing is that you get a sixth sense and you think, right, prepare your retort for what these guys are going to say. Be mentally prepared for what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. Nothing ever physical happened with me. I never got beaten up or anything. I think because I got a guy in the face. But people did say stuff, and I knew these guys were going to say something, and they were Hell's Angels, and what they're going to do, what you're going to do, and the leader of them, he really did look like Lemmy, these big shades and a mutton chops and long hair, and he just stopped in front of my dad, and he took the shades down like this, and he went, "I hope you seek what you find," and walked away. And honestly, my heart melted because he knew what a Sikh was.
Yeah, you're like, we're Sikh.
Yeah.
He knows.
And he knows, and he you know, I like my puns.
Yeah.
So he did a pun as well. So that was a lovely moment. But that
it's not what you expected at all.
Yeah. And I always remember as well, walking home from school. There's a lovely guy, and I wish I could remember his name. He was a really nice boy. And he was genuinely asking me about words in Punjabi and the food that I eat in my house. And I felt like he was taking the piss, but he wasn't. He was genuinely curious. And you've been there at the other end of that, because I know that you were very tight with your Asian pals at school, and you probably know more Punjabi and Hindi songs than I do. And
yeah, we used to learn them, yeah.
or it's something different. And because I've always said this, that it's sometimes when people see difference, it's not, I'm not worried that they see difference, because obviously difference should be celebrated. It's how they react to that difference. And if they want to find out about it, or they don't want to include you, that's the, it's when they reject you or think you're other. That's the problem. But this guy wanted to learn my language, and I shut him out somehow because I felt like he was taking the piss, and he really, really wasn't. He was actually really curious. And
it's interesting. People are, I think you're a product of your upbringing a lot in many ways, and then you grow obviously as an adult. But I think when you're taught certain things and there's a lack of knowledge and understanding, it then comes down to the individual person of what you do with that, whether you're intimidated by it, so then you lash out, and you're embarrassed at your own ignorance, so you just lash out and be cool and try and take control of what you don't know. And that's what these wee kids are doing. I think quite often they don't know what to do, so they just go on the defence, and then people join in, and it's just really interesting, isn't it? That I think it really does come down. I don't believe that prejudice comes from a real place, because when you're really small and young, children don't even see colour. You hear about young boys and girls, and when they do the Secret Life of 5-year-olds and all that, and it's the most beautiful thing. And there'll be two boys, one will be black, one will be white. And as a society now, for quickness and ease, someone say, tell me the difference between the two men, I'd say he's white and he's black. Like in a completely just that's the description, right, of an e-fit of someone. And the wee boys are like, well, Timmy wears a jumper and I don't I've got a shirt. And it's like almost the last thing that they see any difference. And that's really interesting, because you go, well, see, when kids are then kind of late primary school going into secondary, that's not about them. That's not about this gut feeling that they feel, I'm going to say something about that person that looks different. That's something about them, I think. And it's really sad that actually, because it happens when we're so young, that it can really affect us, and you have to go through that, and sometimes I wish you knew what you know as an adult to be able to tell yourself,
I know. I have that fantasy. I have that fantasy of being 9 years old.
Do you?
And knowing what I know. Oh, yeah.
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 Because it would just give you so many more tools, wouldn't it? It would just... But then I suppose that's why... like, you're such a brilliant dad, you're really close to your kids and your family, and maybe that's part of that, as well as nothing to do with your parents, but maybe because you experienced that, you then want to pass down, as much knowledge as you can, life knowledge and advice to your kids. Yeah. Because you're very close to them, eh?
Yeah. But also as well, I mean, look, I'm not moaning about my childhood. I had a pretty sheltered childhood, actually. But that stuff has made me what I am. And what happened to you made you what you are. And, I often joke to the kids. I say, look, if you guys want to get into comedy, then I'm going to have to give you a shittier childhood, because it's too easy for you. You haven't got anything to rail against.
Do you know, it's kind of, I feel as if you try and, for me, it's more like trying to control this, having people laugh at you or mock you a lot. All of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can actually control this laughter if I get in first. Like that thing that we say, if I get in first and I take control of this, then I don't need to be the butt of it, and you can join in on the joke that I've set up for myself almost. Yeah. And there's a kind of, must be a bit of power in that somewhere, that's what we've done for ourselves.
Totally. Yeah, because it's amazing how many people that get into our line of work are incredibly shy. And you don't understand, well, why on earth then would you be on an elevated stage and drawing attention to yourself? And it's for exactly the reasons you said. It's about control, and it's about insecurity. I mean, if you talk to anyone I went to school with, I would have been the last candidate to be on a stage. I mean, I did skillfully avoid being on a stage until Still Game Live. I mean, it was all, radio work, which is much more...
I mean, how crazy is that your stage debut was the one of the biggest venues in Britain, and if not performance venues worldwide, for the kind of the shape that it is and the shows that it does. It's huge.
I've told you this before. It worked in my favour because when we did Still Game at the Hydro, it had not really been done before. Narrative comedy on a stage that size I don't think it had been done anywhere in the world. There've been stand-up, I mean, you can go and see Kevin Bridges and Billy Connolly and The Heart at the Hydro, but you know, the closest thing was really panto. I mean, you at the SEC is the closest that I knew to doing any kind of narrative ensemble piece on a stage. So it not been done before, and the grammar was all different because we were mic'd up and we were being filmed. So the vast majority of the 10,500, 11,000 people were watching screens and listening to your voice coming through the mic. Maybe 400 people are watching you on the stage and listening to what you're projecting. So these were worries for the cast who have all played the Kings, have all played the Pavilion.
Yeah, because you don't know how to. You're crossing between two worlds. You've got two techniques, and you're going, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this. I think I told you this that it was me, Jay McCarry, Paul Riley, and Mark Cox and Gab Mitchell. I think we were just chatting about how do you think it's going to go. We're in the rehearsal room, rehearsing in a gym, and trying to imagine what it's going to be like in front of 10,000 people at the Hydro, where I'd just seen Prince. How's this going to work? And Jane said, how are the laughs going to work? And Paul said, I don't know. I think there might be kind of bounce back or slap back. And Gab was saying, I don't know. I think it might just be one bank of laughs. And Mark saying, well, I hope it is because you know how to ride it.
You're like that.
And I'm like, I've got nothing to contribute to this, thankfully, because it meant I went in totally.
But do you know what? That's great because that's one of the. I mean, I remember, and the advice that the knowledge that I had was from you guys. I was like, right, you guys had the answers. I was like, Jane, beautiful Jane McCarry, who we need to speak about. I mean, my God, Jane, talk to me about this laughter. Is it a weight? Is it? And she's like, no, man, you can't play it. And that's what I love about when you know somebody so well, you know. And we just talk in layman's terms, and she went, you can't play it. And I went, right, okay, cool. And I understood what she meant. Like, you can't ride the laughter in the Hydro because if you rode every laugh and waited the timing that you normally wait, you couldn't do it. It's like a big Mexican wave, you know. But what a moment for you, your first live experience.
Yeah.
And you got the opportunity to go away up. I remember seeing you away up with the tuck shop, with the heat shop. I mean, to sit in the house, like be in the audience for everyone and feel that.
Well, I got that perspective no one else got from the cast. And it was Gav that said to me, he said, there's no way I would have done that. And because I had that naivety of no experience. I'm like, oh, fine, I'll do that. That's fine. But also because I suppose I'm having done not done stage work as such, but having done a lot of radio work and knowing how to interact with people, it didn't maybe hold so much fear for me. But Gav did say, there's no way I'd have done that. I'd have shot myself. And I said, well, I enjoyed it. It was, and I could see from their perspective what, the show. So it was brilliant. It was such a laugh. Such a privilege, actually. Such a privilege. It
was such a moment. I'll never, Still Games, so iconic. And as you know, I'm such a fan. And I just will never, I'll never forget sitting there and Fordingham coming on and then the wall break joke, and I just was waiting to see what they were going to do because I thought, they need to break this wall, like there's no way they're not going to. And then I thought, maybe they're not going to, and then it was like, do you think they weren't going to talk to you? And the minute they started talking about the fourth wall, I went, oh my God, they're going to do it.
But that first moment, though, I think it was the third or fourth scene in where they come on and you just get that hand and roar for what felt like 3 minutes. It was almost like a hairdryer on them. And they're just staring out like that. Yeah. And I'm thinking, one of them will crack. No. Deadpan. What's going on? Is some kind of football game happening today? And then they go back.
But they're total genius. I mean, they are so. I mean, you're a writer as well. I mean, they are so clever.
Oh God, I always think as well with Still Game, you actually only get quite a narrow band of their spectrum. I mean, the stuff you hear them chatting. There's stuff they're into in comedy that they could be doing that they can't really even showcase on Still Game. You sort of got a clue on the early Tune the Fat, when Tune the Fat was on the radio, sort of first series of Tune the Fat, the spectrum of stuff they could do. And then it became the Scottish comedy, which nothing wrong with that, because it gave
I know what you mean. No, there was kind of a little bit more obscurity and a little bit more close to the
a lot more Americana as well, and a lot more out there stuff. And then but as we know, they made it more Scottish, and they got rid of the chatty bits, and it became a sketch show, and it was brilliant.
Yeah,
I always think that the stuff that Foreign Grade can do that no one has actually seen.
Yeah, but you've written, I mean, that's a thing that I was going to say as well. We're doing a Billy Connolly, but it's nice because we're coming back round. But you've written, so I was saying about, obviously your upbringing and how you were actually really academic, and you went and you did the maths degree and everything, and then you were a presenter, but you're also... not a lot of people realise how much you've written and how involved. There's actors that we know that they'll say something, I'll go, oh, Sanjeev wrote that, and they're like, what? I'm like, that's Sanjeev's. Like, chewing the fat stuff. You told them I wrote the Bible, though.
You told them I wrote the Bible. I only wrote the New Testament, as you know.
I mean, things like the pigeons, where there was somebody talking about it, and I went, Sanjeev wrote that, because I remember it, because that's how I knew you, because when I was younger, my first professional gig, really, I did a small children's things first, but my big main break was the Karen Dunbar show with the comedy in it. And just before, round about that time, I was looking at the stuff they were doing, the rough cut stuff as well, and you would see the writers. And so I did Karen Dunbar, and I saw your names and things, and I think we met you guys at the read-through and stuff. And then, no, I didn't meet you, because I remember why I didn't meet you.
I know. I don't remember coming to read through, actually.
No, you didn't.
Donnie was in the cast, so you met Donnie.
That's right, and so I knew Donnie, and then subsequently I started doing rough cuts, and so we would get loads of material through from different writers, new writers and established writers, and your stuff was always amazing. And I knew Donnie before I knew you, and this is the best story, because remember I just told you, like, there was no fear. I was like, when you came to River City years later, and even though we knew each other, like, we'd see each other and stuff, I was like, Sanj, do you know what? I'm going to tell you this, because you're always dead modest, and you always make jokes, and we joke about, like, our size, and you talk about being Asian, and then you always say things like that you're not the most handsome, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, right, I need to tell you this, because you need to know. And I will never forget, I was working in the West End, down in, I can't remember the name of the arcade. Yeah, in there. And you were
you worked in Sandy's shop?
Yeah, no, and you were walking down there. I think you maybe only had one baby. I can't remember how long ago it was. And I'll never forget it, right? Walking down with the family, yellow T-shirt on, right? And I was walking with, I think it was Marge Hogarth.
Oh, because Marge worked there as well.
And she went, hi. And I went, who's that? She went, it's Sanjeev. And I went, that's Sanjeev Kohli. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, he's pure gorgeous. Age were you then? So try to work out what age you were when I was eyeing you up.
34.
So you were 34, right? And I was 20, 21, like that.
Yeah. I mean, just goes to show age ain't nothing but a number.
Still got it, baby. But you are very stylish. Look, I've got some stuff. So you pull off things like this, right? Check that out.
Oh, man. Right. Aye.
Look at the pins.
But that kilt's clearly too short, and I got flack for that. Weirdly, I got more flack for the length of the kilt than I did for the tartan.
The kilt's sitting just above your kneecap. That's where it's supposed to sit, right, just above your kneecap.
I had to put chicken fillets in my socks, though. I've got wee toothpick legs. That was for when I was...
Are you being serious?
No. I've got filler legs, as you know. My legs are my best bit.
I just said that. You've got great legs.
My legs are the only bit of my body I like.
But now I'm starting to think, oh my God, have they been filleted all this time? I've got some nice pictures of, there's one of you and Donnie, who obviously you've subsequently gone on to write Fags, Mags and Bags with, the amazing Radio 4 channel.
So that's
Donnie.
That was a publicity shot. That's probably about 4 or 5 years old now. And that's a shop in Garnet Hill that we used to do our publicity shots in. But yeah, Donnie's my partner in rhyme.
He's brilliant. He's such a great guy, isn't he? You write so beautifully together.
Incredibly funny. He's raised my game consistently over the last 20 years. He's forced me to, just by being brilliant and trying to exist on the same plane as him. It's been great.
Really?
Oh, totally.
He's so talented.
Because we work really well together, but I sometimes think I'm the brakes, and because he is honestly, just he sees every single angle, be it visual or verbal. He just incredibly quick-witted and someone that should be on screen more. But I think he's kind of got the fear a wee bit with the acting because he hasn't done enough of it. But
he's got such a brilliant face. He's got such a cheeky, mischievous face, and he should be. You're right, because he's so lovely to watch, and he's joyous, and he just oozes cheekiness and nonsense and silliness,
really
and
clever, really, really
in a genius way. In a total genius way. I've got other pictures. Here's something we should chat about quickly. We obviously play an on-screen couple. Mm-hmm. This is us outside our work.
Man, I'm so sick of those boots. And they always put me in the most ill-fitting shirts. I'm really self-conscious about my midriff, my belly, and
I know you are, but I don't know why.
I just and I don't like being clean-shaven, and I have to be clean-shaven, and they always. I know. I can never get a haircut that I like. And
them's the breaks, baby. You wanted to be an actor. You could have had a beard if you were teaching a maths class, but not when you're performing on screen.
Apparently, I'm not allowed to look like an Uber driver.
It's nice, though, because you look different. It's nice to look different. I love this picture, so I wanted to chat to you about this wee China.
Wee Libs. Libby Lobster.
Libby Lobster.
Yeah.
She is the most divine, isn't she? She's the most beautiful little girl to work with. And
also, just apart from anything else, really bloody good at her work. Really conscientious.
Well, this is what I was going to say to you, because as we know, she has just been
nominated.
Where's the thing? Nominated for a Young Scot Award.
Which is brilliant.
And nominated in the category of entertainment. For her role as, she's just the most incredible wee talent, and I'm so proud that there's a picture of us together that's quite cute. Remember when we did the Shield and Panto?
We're pulling the feet on. Oh God, that's right. Yeah.
It's so cute, isn't it?
That is funny. Yeah.
And Libby was so excited because we were wearing the same the same costume.
Yeah.
She's such a wee squeeze.
Brilliant. And the thing is that it's a real trek for her mum Jenna bringing her over from, is it Forfar?
Forfar, yeah.
Trying to stay in hotels, and I mean, I'd imagine that might be exciting for 5 minutes, and then she's school, but she's bright as a button. I mean,
she gets shattered, and then she just comes on, and she's like, "King."
Thing, and then she's learned everyone else's lines. You know that way where you say line, and she'll tell you, like.
She tells you, and also but she makes you. I remember Glenn saying this to me, lovely Glenn Wallace, who played her dad.
Well, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, but there was so on Twitter. Is it Wendy Wason, the stand-up? So she's married.
Yes, I love Wendy.
Was she married to an actor from Northern Ireland? And and she. So what's his name? The reason I bring it up is
don't out me.
She tweeted. Oh, it turns out my husband is the sixth sexiest man in Northern Ireland, right? And so I went on the list, and Glenn's in it. Glenn's like 11 or 12.
Nah, he should be much higher up the list.
Well, as we know, he had been in Hollyoaks. And I jokingly said to him, it's something I've said on Twitter, I said, the reason I got into the acting game was that one day I'd like to be a Hollyoaks hunk. Sends me a picture.
Remember?
He's a Hollyoaks hunk from the calendar. And lovely Glenn. So sorry.
Remember for his leaving gift, you got him actually something made, didn't you?
Yeah, so it was on the front was Hollyoaks hunk, and on the back was River City Ride.
Do you know what though?
What?
Interestingly, and I've only just thought of this in this moment, interestingly, before I snapped my leg in real life, as you know, my Achilles, Ellie was, they weren't sure what to do with Ellie because they'd just moved her, she'd taken her away from Bob, they'd taken her out the ship, they weren't sure what to do, and they were going to put her back into support work, right? Going to put her back into support work, and she was going to support Greg with his legs and everything, his injury that he had, and we'd already shot bits of it, and some of it was broadcast, and then I snapped my leg, ironically, and all the stuff we've been learning about things to do with legs, I actually had to do some of it. Yeah. But they were going to make, Ellie was going to fall in love with Greg. Ellie was going to have this big crush, and what I think is so ironic is that, because I was going to make a joke, go, there's your competition, like if Greg came back then AJ would have competition. And I'm like, oh my God, that would be really interesting because that's Katie's dad.
Yeah.
So you've been being her dad and I've been kind of being her mum. And then if her real dad came back, like really, that would be danger.
That'd be something to play, wouldn't it?
That's what I was going to say. Glenn told me that she makes you a better actor. And I was like, do you know what? You're so right, because she's so instinctive, and because we are always kind of thinking about our own things as actors quite a lot. She makes you so reactive, and she does little things where she'll do, you know what it's like, she'll touch you, or she'll do something different.
Her punchline, Libby's punchline for me is, I think I'd hug you at this point. And she's right. And it makes all the difference because it totally humanises it. And she's instinctive in that childlike way.
She's beautiful, a beautiful wee thing. Yeah. We're lucky, aren't we?
And she gives good hugs. She
gives the best hugs. We're so lucky.
Won't she?
Could you ever have imagined being where you are now? Like, I forget, you know, when you know somebody so well and we work together so closely, and then if you and I go to an event or you're hosting an event, you know, because you do so much of these things, and sometimes like I'm like, people are in the room, they're kind of swarming, and it's like, Sanjeev Kohli, and I kind of go, like, I'm pure cheeky at him.
I know, and it's been noted.
I'm like, well, I'm like, he's just like my mate.
But
like,
Leah, I need you to be cheeky to me because I don't want to have an inflated ego. I need you to pierce the bubble sometimes. That is why I pay to have you around.
Yeah, that's the only. Is that why I'm actually contracted?
That's why. Yeah. So just get that cheeky lassie, the cheeky lassie that can sing. Get her. She can be my bird.
Oh God.
No, but I know what you're saying. And as long as I can remember, I loved humour and I loved comedy, and I'd lap everything up on the 3 channels that we had growing up. And I remember just like people around being funny and enjoying being a fan of comedy, but never thinking I would ever do comedy because that would involve performing. And I'm not, you know, it's just never going to happen. I'm going to be a doctor, and then I'm going to go into science. And even at university, when I sort of found my voice and people were sort of laughing at what I said, I thought, well, that's nice, but it's not a career. I just couldn't envisage it. And then I fell into presenting. That was a friend of mine who thought I'd be good at presenting a show, and turned out she was right. And then I thought, okay, right, journalist, right, cool. Yeah, I can do that. And again, just for my own edification, I would write my own links, and my default setting was comedy. And then I fall into performing. I still think, well, I'm a Johnny-come-lately. You know, I'm 27 before I do any real acting. And is it real acting? It's just me shouting in a wig. Because I'd done a sketch show with Donnie, and it was just us performing our own stuff. And I had no background in performing. Yeah, I was doing radio presenting, which I knew my heart of hearts was a version of performing, but I didn't think it was enough. And I'll always have this thing about not doing enough stage acting. And even when you know, in the canteen with you guys, and you're chatting about tours that you've done and stages that you've played, and I still, and the thing is, I know I've got the hydro, right? And you're probably the only other one in the room that can, you know, that's done it as well. But I'm still always going to feel like I'm not time served.
But it's okay. I think it's okay. You know, I think it's all right to have your own journey and your own path, don't you?
No, don't get me wrong. If I'd been rubbish, I'd have been found out. But my route to becoming that guy from that show, to becoming Naveed from Still Game, was quite unusual. If you think about it, you know, going from starting a medical degree to getting a maths degree, to becoming a journalist, to becoming a presenter, then performer, and then fall into all of those things. Yeah. And in that, whatever, 15, 20 year span, you are a popular character in the biggest comedy to come out of Scotland. I mean, I remember when Still Game got the Scotch and Rye slot at Hogmanay. And Scotch and Rye was appointment television in our house. I mean, my dad loved Ricky Fulton. Yes. And I remember when that was a moment, you know, you're thinking, I'm sort of up, the show's up there. It's unbelievable. You know? But even now, when I say those words, it kind of feels like it happened to someone else. I mean, and that's just the way I'm built. I don't know if it's the Asian or the Scot in me, but it'll always feel like, that was luck. That, you know.
Do you know what I think?
When I analyse it, when someone says to me, "Look, shut your face, you're clearly talented," and when they give me the black and white facts, and I would have been hunted if I was rubbish. You know, people aren't laughing at you because it's not an equal opportunities thing. If you're rubbish, they let you know.
Yeah.
But I'll always feel that, because I never chased it, because I never had that dream when I was 12, and it feels like a bit of a cheat. I mean, and I'm talented, but I have been very lucky. And
I've had people... We all feel like that, though.
Yeah.
Because the people that I've spoken to who have had a dream, like, for example, the Dolls yesterday, right? They've had a dream their whole life. They saw the Steamy when they were wee young actresses, right? It was iconic. They know everything about it. They know the craft inside out, right? They didn't believe. I showed them pictures of themselves and they can't believe it's them even now. They're just starting to process what they've done with this huge franchise. It's like, I think it's just a thing that we have in self-preservation. I think our heads would explode if we were able to take in what we've done. And for you, it's such an iconic thing. So nice to hear you talk about yourself as a wee boy with your wee uniform on and how you felt on that bus. And I just wonder what you would say to any wee guy or any wee girl out there just now who feels maybe like they don't quite fit in, they're not very sure, and maybe they feel a little bit intimidated and a little bit worried about what's to come. And you said you would love to have that knowledge. What would you say to somebody now if you could?
This is the advice. It's almost like a mantra that I've been saying to my own son, who's 13 now. He's going through that really, really self-conscious phase, because I think that is the issue of being that age, is that you want to fit in and you're trying to fit in. And for the likes of you and me, it was very difficult. It's probably, like I said, it's made us what we are, but it was very difficult for us to fit in and constantly worrying about what people think. And I try to, it's what I'd have said to myself, which is this: people are worried about their own shit. They're not worried about you. They are actually worried about themselves. Even people that bully you, even when 6 people are bullying you, they're actually worried about themselves. And as rubbish as it sounds, it all comes from insecurity. Everyone is insecure as you are. If you can try and remember that, because it's absolutely true. And it's really hard when you're a hormonal 13-year-old. Nothing's going to break that, that mold. But you're always going to feel that way, that everyone's watching you. And I think that's just the way you're wired when you're that age. But it's true. Everyone's worried about their own thing more than they're worried about you. And if you can let go of that, then you're laughing.
It's really important. I need to ask you about this because you've been so open and honest about it. And actually, when you did your big interview in the Herald and you were telling them that you spoke to somebody about how you were feeling at the time, it was actually me that you spoke to. And and I remember feeling really humbled and quite overwhelmed that you had chosen to tell me. And I remember being really worried about what you were going to tell me, because you were quite broken at the time and quite, you didn't really know what was happening to you. And I just remember being, first of all, so surprised, because I battle with anxiety and some depression sometimes, not quite to the same extent that yours can sometimes. At the time that you were feeling bad, it was quite a long period of feeling quite down. But I was so surprised, and this is why I want to speak to you about it, because if I was surprised by that, and I know you and I work so closely with you every day, I think it's a really amazing thing and a really brave thing that you've done to speak about it, because I think so many people will truly be helped, because they look at you, Naveed from Still Game, Sanjeev Kohli, who's hosting the red carpet at the BAFTAs, hosting these huge award ceremonies, looks cool as fuck, wears all this amazing stuff. If you can feel like that, then that's probably going to give people a wee bit of hope that it's actually all right.
Well, I really, really hope so, because we spend so much of our time trying to show an image to the world. I mean, I don't particularly, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just working. And it so happens that my work involves me being a public figure and having to maybe raise my game when there's eyes on you or cameras on you. But, when we did the first Still Game Live, I was in a big depression. And I had to do that show. I mean, it lifted during the run, actually, but I was in a really, really dark place. And I think it's important for people to know that, it might look like I've got the world on the plate, and, what's he got to be depressed about? And I think this is an issue with, especially in Scotland, it's this Calvinist thing of you haven't earned the right to be depressed. So I look at my life, my mum and dad worked their arses off to give us a really comfortable upbringing and send us to private schools. And have a cosseted middle-class Spam Valley upbringing and go to uni and never really have to worry, not much financially. What have I got to be worried about? I've not earned that right to be down on myself. But I mean, my whole life I've been pessimistic and down on myself and never thought I was good enough. And in as much as I've found something that I'm good at and something, you know, we're lucky, we're in a business that you will get praise from people you don't know for something that you do. I mean, you could be, you know, I suppose like being a teacher, you know, when someone comes back and says, sorry, you know, you changed my life and you know that you made me love English, and you can get that validation. You don't get that in every profession. We can. We get the shite as well. You know, we get the haters on things. But particularly relevant now that we're realising that the key workers and the delivery drivers and, you know, they're the real heroes. I mean, what we do is great, but it's great that other people are getting applause, and I'm glad, you know, I love seeing footage of that particular that nurse who's in tears because a street are clapping her. You know, the money would be better, you know, give them decent, you know, badges and applause go so far. But the point is that in as much as I can be that guy that can go on a stage and be part of a ensemble that gets a standing ovation 21 times from 11,000 people, it doesn't mean that you can't be broken inside and you can't hate yourself for a while and not know why. And that's important. And it's also, it might be chemical, it might be something that happened in childhood, it doesn't matter. You just have to be able to talk about it and say to people that I'm not okay today, I'm feeling crap today. And pride needs to go out the window. You need to be vocal. And even when you're not feeling vocal, because that's, I mean, you saw how quiet I went, you know. I mean, I'm not always the most chatty. I mean, we're in a business where people are quite kind of, you know what I mean? And
it's night and day though.
But I really went into myself.
When the camera's rolling, it lifts, but you weren't able to turn it on. You did it a wee bit, and sometimes that's a really selfish moment of mine when I go, well, do you know what? It's such a lovely thing that, because sometimes I would sit with you and it'd be very, and I'd think, Sandra's even talking to me, you know, and like other people would come in and it would be like, hi, and I'd be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, why he's not talking to me? But then when we chatted about it, I was like, what a beautiful thing that actually it's so comfortable that he doesn't feel the need to do that in front of me. Like, he could just be himself, and that was really lovely. I thought that he didn't feel the need to switch the switch on, and, you know.
We know it's like it's the people that are closest to you that get the bad stuff.
It's not that you want to cause yourself harm, or you know, it's not that. It's that you cannot bear the feeling of it, and then there's an incredible amount of guilt that comes with it, especially for you as a father.
I'm at home. I can't talk to my wife and my kids. I'm at work. I can't talk to my good pals. I'm thinking, are they thinking that they've done something? I'm bringing this whole room down. You just because you're in that place where you're beating yourself up already.
Yeah,
it just all piles in. So it's a pile.
I think that's key, though. That's key for us to say, probably for anybody who is trying to help somebody who's suffering from depression. Sometimes you have to take yourself out. It's very difficult with someone you love, and I've chatted to friends as well who have got partners. They're going, what's going on? And I'm like, it's actually not about you. And I know that's really hard to understand, but I know when I'm in the makeup room, I can tell how you're feeling by the way you come in the room. And I know, and sometimes it just lifts my whole spirit when I hear you, and I'm not a morning person, as you know, and I'm like that, and I roll my eyes for a second and then I smile, because I'm like, it's all right. Because I roll my eyes at anyone talking in the morning, me of all people, because I'm just like, everybody be quiet, please. But when I hear you chattering away and joking, it always lightens my mood for the day, because I just feel so pleased that you're doing okay. But
one of the reasons I went public with it was that a friend of mine, I'm sure I told you this, a guy, Mark Pacitu, a lovely guy who I went to school with, he ended up in Australia, and then we had a dialogue, and he said, look, I've suffered from the depression, the black dog. I started a blog called Dancing with the Black Dog, and now I've made it into charity. And our catchphrase, our tagline is, it's okay to say that you're not okay. And he said, I've got people, I've been getting in touch via Facebook with people that might be kind of just figureheads for the charity. He said, I've got Alf from Home and Away in Australia. He's my man here. I said, are you kidding me? He said, Ray Mayer, I got him on board. I said, I love him. Yeah, great guy. And he said, would you be okay to be my Scottish guy? I said, absolutely. At no point during this conversation did I tell him that I suffered. So I'm doing Facebook messages saying it's okay to say you're not okay. And I'm not saying it. So for about a year, I was a total hypocrite. But that was my way of...
It's a big deal, though. It's a big deal.
And then
I
thought,
completely stigmatised.
I can't be a hypocrite. I need to actually talk about this. And, you know, I think there has been a sea change in attitude. You know, there's always been a lag, hasn't there, between attitudes between physical and mental illness. And I think we're getting there. I think that we're closing it.
Yeah.
Certainly the response I had was I was actually 100%. I can't remember a negative thing anyone said to me about going public.
This or that, right? Would you rather be Batman or Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yep.
Cash or gifts?
Gifts.
I thought you might say cash because you're quite pernickety on what you like.
Well, I was going to say that wasn't an option.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Movie or play?
Movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
City or beach?
City.
Yes. Yeah. I like the beach as well, though. Walk or run?
I mean, I prefer to walk, but that doesn't get rid of my belly, so I'll always prefer to walk.
I love how I could have answered these for it. We should have done Mr. and Mrs. I've got some funny little would you rather right really quickly. Would you rather be a kid your whole life or an adult your whole life?
Kid.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Would you rather have more time or more money?
More money. Time's overrated. Time's overrated.
Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on your life just now?
Rewind.
Really?
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
Would you rather have X-ray vision or magnified hearing?
Magnified hearing.
Really?
Yeah. I like to hear
nosy.
The gossip.
Nosy. Yeah. I like this one. I asked Johnny Mackeys, would you rather wear a draggy jumper, right? It's your only top half of clothing that you're allowed to wear all day, every day, right? It's all you're allowed to wear. Or you're only allowed to use, when you go to the bathroom, one sheet of single-ply toilet roll. Not the same sheet every time, but one sheet.
Toilet roll.
Johnny said the jumper.
Yeah.
I said, you need to wear it on the beach in Cancun, and he said he would do it.
No,
but you'd go for the toilet roll.
No, I can get really creative with toilet roll.
Yeah, and also, you're not going to wear a shite jumper, are you?
I'd rather smell bad than look bad. Aye. Because
you're Sanjeev, you're the most stylish man.
That's what it says on the poster.
You are beautiful. Sanjeev Kohli, you are an absolute legend. You're one of the most beautiful men I know. It's a total honour to work with you, and I can't wait till we get back to work, and I can't wait to see what you've got coming up next in that genius brain of yours. I hope you create many more things for Scotland, because
God bless you.
Thank you so much for joining me. Bye!